Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Relocate to Happiness podcast. Today we're going to have a conversation about happiness, life, high performance, and death. My guest today is Anna Cristina Lutz. She's an executive performance expert with 20 years of experience working with top levels performance in the world of arts, music, and business. Welcome back. Anna, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, I'm so excited to have you here. And it's funny that every time I do it, it's just like I get excited from the beginning like it was my first time.
Ah, yay.
So I'm a bit nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what should I ask her? But I'm sure that we're going to start rolling. And then, so thank you so much. Welcome to Relocate to Happiness. And thank you for taking the invitation.
You're very welcome. I'm excited.
Me too. Let's go. So I have like 3 questions that I always ask my guests. 3 questions about questions before we start like the other questions that I call them like the serious one. So question number 1. What was the most meaningful question that you were ever asked?
I think it was not a straightforward question but an indirect question that was asked through my life and the happenings in it. And it is, what do you want to have as conclusions on your deathbed?
Ooh, that's a heavy one.
I feel like I have watched lots of people get sick and also pass away. I've watched people enjoy life. I've watched people tick over and never live. Mm-hmm. And for me, if you work backwards, it works better because I feel like people get more clever in life. Mm-hmm. And so my question is always like, when I'm about to pass away, whenever that is, like, what do I want to think about my life? And that's what I should be focusing on more than other things. Because we can focus on so many things. We can have so many priorities. Mm-hmm. And you can get them completely wrong also, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you can go backwards and say, like, okay, when it's the end, like, what do I want to remember about my life? Mm-hmm. Then they're the things that you should focus on most as highest priorities.
And do you have the answer for it?
Yeah, it's to be myself. Mm-hmm. It's to go after what's important to me and what I love, even if I'm terrified, because you never know when it's too late. Mm-hmm. Just to be bold and courageous and go and do the things that even people think are impossible, and you just gotta go. And if you think you can do it, you just gotta go and do it and pull it off. Mm-hmm. So that to... if it's not right, to me, that's a very important one. If it's not right, you got to change it. Mm-hmm. So I don't settle. I don't wait too long to watch if something maybe is right when I can tell it's kind of not. Mm-hmm. So I think they're some of my fire ones. And I keep reminding myself it just takes one.
It just takes what?
It just takes one.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's hard to keep going. And I have these things that I want to do in my life because I thought about it backwards. And they're hard to achieve. And then I just keep going I think it just takes one, Anna. It just takes one. It just takes one. It might be the next one. So, yeah. Yeah.
But you know, when you said that, I remember that I recently saw a video on Instagram, and there's like these videos that they go, motivational videos that we get them. So there was a research apparently done when people asking people what was their biggest regrets on their deathbed, right?
Yes,
Have you seen it?
Yeah. So there's a book which got me to the question, and it's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Okay.
And
tell us.
So I always forget some, but The 5 Regrets of the Dying is written by a nurse who did palliative care in America, and one of them was, I wish I'd lived a life that was true to myself. Mm-hmm. Not build somebody else's life. I wish I'd made more time for family and friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I
think something like I wish I didn't work as much.
Yeah, there was like definitely like I wish I didn't work that much.
Yeah, and I would spend more time with more time with my family.
Yeah. And then there's 2 more that I forget.
And I think I shouldn't worry. I wish I didn't worry that much.
Yeah,
right?
And about people's opinion. Like, I wish I didn't worry that much about other people's opinion, and I'd just gone and done, like, what I wanted to do. And to me, that extends to... Everybody always seems to think they know better what's good for you, at least in my life. And I've come to learn after 38 years that is certainly not true. I have known what's good for me all along, and I have tried to do things other people's way or the right way or how most people seem to do it, and it rarely fits for me. So I then had to go and find my own way, which I've gone and done with pretty much everything. But it extends to me of like, live the life that you choose, and that's good for you, and make sure that you remember that you're probably right on what's good for you, and just go and do that. I had people tell me, like, I learned this when I did a Holland's Got Talent performance as a dancer, and the audition, I prepared everything by myself, and nobody knew that I was going. I just prepared in silence, and then I did the audition, and then I had to go through to the live shows. Well, I got through to the live shows.
Beautiful.
And then in the live shows, all of a sudden, the choreographer of the main TV channel had opinions about it, and everybody had opinions about my makeup and the kind of dress I had to wear. And I've lived a life where people have backed off telling me what to do because I've gone and done my own thing, and it worked out just fine. And I have ended up proving things were possible that they never thought were possible. They're like, Anna, it's not possible. I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. And then I would do it. And so the second audition that I did, the audition, I did everything by myself. But the second performance I did, which was the live show, I had to fight very hard to put only my things in. And so I made this whole performance. You had to send a video in, and the choreographer rings me back, and he says, yeah, I've watched your video. It's not spectacular enough. I said, I'm not there to be spectacular. I'm telling a story, and it's supposed to captivate you and mesmerize you and make you sit at the edge of your seat. I said, but I have not ever been on TV to be spectacular. I'm no circus artist. He's like, no, we're selling you as a circus artist. And I listened to him, and you think, wow, this is the choreographer of RTL 4, which is like the main thing you watch.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this is the famous choreographer. He must know.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and I listened to the words that he said, and I said, have you actually watched my audition? I said, I do not believe your feedback about what you wish for me to do this time is true and based on my audition. I said, I don't think you've watched my audition, because you could have never told me I needed to be spectacular, and you're selling me as a circus artist. There is nothing in my audition that's like that. I said, so I don't think you've watched it. And he didn't answer. I said, right, well, I'm going to hang up the phone right now. I said, I'm going to stick to the performance how it was. If it doesn't get me through, I went through in my own way. I said, but I'm going to hang up the phone. You watch that performance. And if you think I'm incorrect, ring me back. But I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. And oh my God, the amount of balls that took to do. You really have to like believe in your own stuff. And he never rang me back.
Ooh, ouch.
And I came to like the preparation for the live shows on the day, and we did the performance. On the call, I also told him, I said, he's like, it looks so simple. I said, thank you, that's a great compliment. I said, if I see you in person and I give you a hula hoop and you can pull off the tricks that I can pull off, I said, you're amazing, and I will just not perform. I said, you can do it. And so I only say those things when I get really angry. And on the day I did the performance for him live with the music on the big stage, and we finished, and he got on the stage and he clapped. He said, that was beautiful. I take back what I said on the phone. I said, good man.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow. What a story.
So it's not easy to stick to your own guns, but through falling over, I've learned you know best. Just stick to your own ideas.
Like your trust your intuition.
Yeah, and what makes you happy and what feels good.
We're gonna get there. This was just the first question.
Sorry, yeah.
this was our first question. Okay, number 2 question, and then we're gonna dive into the happiness, right?
See.
Number 2 question is one question that you ask yourself when you created the breakthrough. Actually,
that is at what cost? Can you? So my question at the beginning of my life was always, can I do that? I wonder if I can do that. And then I learned the most important question to me is, of course you can do that, but at what cost?
What's the price that you're gonna pay for doing that?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like interesting that you're saying that, because in coaching we always said like every action that a person has a price and a profit. Now it's very easy to see the price that somebody has, but like it's very difficult to see the profit. You're actually getting something, out of it. And people, like for people, it's very difficult to understand that they're getting a profit, not only a price from each action that they're doing.
Yeah. I also think that people don't understand enough the ways in which they pay. I don't think people have enough understanding of their body often, because the prices, the hardest prices you pay are never financial. Like finance is the easiest one you pay, and everybody can see that, and you can figure that out on paper.
Exactly.
But it's loss of energy, it's loss of joy, it's loss of motivation.
You lose yourself.
It's loss of yourself. And it's also, if you fulfill what you want a little bit, but not good enough and you know it, but you take it anyway. Like, I want a pink jumper, but you see a green jumper and you think it's got pink on it, it'll do for now. It means for the next year, you're going to forget about the pink jumper.
It's true.
And that's incredibly dangerous in my opinion, which is the reason why I stick with it. If it's not right, I don't do it. I don't buy it. I don't go there, however brutal it is.
Like being for focused. but it sounds
I'm very smiley for an incredibly highly focused human being.
Listen. For me, it's like, it sounds not that it's like pink and green for you. It's like black and white. Like you really know what you want and what is good for you and what not. Like it just sounds to me that you're very, I wouldn't say direct, but
clear.
Clear?
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people have tried to make it unclear. I'd be like, this is it. And then everybody tries to waver and argue with you. And I'm like, just, I didn't ask for your opinions. I know this is the thing.
Yeah.
But that's a blessing. That's been the blessing that I've had since I was little. And that saved me in everything. Because I have always tried to do it other people's way.
Yeah.
Because people push so hard for you to do it their way. Now you have to do it the way the family does. You have to study where the rest studied. You have to do it in the way everybody else did. And it's endless. Like everybody always had opinions about it. And then the win for me is that I have always been so clear on things. And then I thought, well, screw everybody else. I'm doing it like this because I'm unwilling to get sick. And that brings us back to the question of at what cost? I will get sick. I will be unwell, you'll lose energy. Losing energy means you're going to try and cope in another way, which could be anything for people.
Yeah.
Eating badly, whatever. Yeah, so at what cost? That's important to me.
Okay, I love it. One more, and then we're going to the happiness questions. One question that you were never asked, but you wish you were.
One question.
That's a tricky one.
Are your parents providing you with what's really important to you? If somebody had asked me that, I would have figured out they weren't at a very young age. I saw it and I realized it, but in a dormant way. And if somebody had said, are you getting
what you need
as a kid to be well, to feel safe, to be healthy and to grow? And to build yourself into a human being that's going to go off and do it by themselves. And I wish somebody then had poked, because it took me into mid-20s for me to realize things were wrong.
It's never too late. What was wrong?
Oh, everything.
You want to share?
That's not entirely true. Some things were right, and some things were going well, and some things weren't. Yeah, I think the politest way to say was that it was an unhealthy, unbalanced family dynamic. And what I learned was that I had an idea of how things were between my parents. And then when I was 30, I realized it was completely the other way around. And so I thought I had a dominant dad who was quite authoritative. I mean, he was strong and he had strong opinions, but it was made to look like he was authoritative and very dominant, and he was not quite abusive, but really impactful downwards. And my mother was the sorry little bird that wasn't strong enough to XYZ. And so but my mother made that system. And so my dad was actually just this incredibly charismatic, loving, big family guy who wanted nothing more than on his gravestone to say, here lies Hans Loods. He was a great dad. That's everything in his life. That's what he said. That's what he wanted on there. And my mom managed to kind of make us see things differently, and it took up, and that really had a huge impact on everything. My mother's mental health, I don't think, was ever really right. I think you've got mothers who have a mother heart and a level of care, like your mind, let me take care of you. Yeah. And that's something my mom doesn't have. So we had a lack of a whole bunch of things. My mother always made us feel like we were in her way. She would always say, like, I didn't study for this. I was like, well, you had sex about this. Like, we turned up, didn't we? Like, should have thought about that better.
Oh, my God.
And so all of that. And then when I was around 8, I realized, when I was 7, I realized something was wrong. And when I was 8, my dad started to get an alcohol problem.
Ouch.
And you can cut this all out because this is maybe not exciting for anybody to know, but it gives...
I think this is the real thing, actually.
It gives like a better idea of to me, happiness and hardship come together. And I think the more shit you've seen in life, the more you learn how to fight for being happy. And the more you realize that happiness is a decision and it's got to be the only plan you have. That's what I think. Happiness has got to be plan A. There is nothing else. It's that or nothing. Because it's hard to fight for happiness. And there is a million things in your life where you think, oh, maybe I just, I feel sorry for myself. So, so-and-so says it's not a good idea, but it makes me happy. And there's so much that impacts you all the time. I feel like happiness is this one choice. It's like you've just... And if you've seen enough shit, you make that choice. That's what I think.
So you took, like, I wanted to ask you what is happiness, but you already answered my question. But I wanted to ask you before, like, I feel like a lot of pain and frustration in your story.
Oh, there has been, yes.
So I know that, like, I know a bit about your family history with the diseases and everything, and I think it's, heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. Do you want to share a bit about it?
Yeah and no. I think when people truly know the in-depth details of the challenges that you've gone through, they start to realize that you kind of help them to understand that Anna is how she is because she's made decisions. And she got pushed to make decisions at a very early age. And she continued to make clear decisions. Happiness is a decision, in my opinion, to follow what's good for me at the cost of losing people, if that's what it takes. And so I'm quite stern and hard like that because I'm unwilling to let other people ruin the life that I have, no matter what it takes. And so nobody's gonna build it for me. Nobody's gonna make it for me. Nobody's gonna feed me chicken soup when I'm sick, really. So you have to fight for it, but you have to be soft at the same time. And so there is a hundreds of stories of sick and not being well. And I had a girl at my university once. We were off to play a hockey match, and we were both sitting in the back of the car. And she says, "Wow, Anna, you must have had such a great life. You're always so full of energy and happy." I said, "I'm so full of happy and with so much energy because A, I take care of myself, and B, because I had such a hard life." And she was like, "Oh." And I couldn't understand she even came up with it. That makes a human. But I feel like for all the energy that is gained in a life where it's really hard and really heavy and you have to really fight hard to come out well as a human being and a useful human being, or at least to yourself, all the energy that's there, which is a lot, is also energy that's created to have like extreme passion and purpose. And so I feel like you've got to find the way to turn the contrast and the hardship into desire and help you push forwards. So that's my shiny story. The unshiny story is my little sister had cancer when she was 11 months old. I was 7. I then realized my mom was not okay as a mom. And I think my dad realized that too. He got an alcohol problem at the age of, I was 8. Whoa. And I decided I had to close my eyes for the the way that my mom was. Otherwise, I'd end up on the street because when something is unfair, I will not stop fighting. And I was going to fight so hard. And I thought, that's going to be so bad. It's better just to pretend I don't know this. And then grandmothers and grandfathers passed away, but that's easy stuff compared to the others. And then a dear friend of ours passed away who was 23. She got cancer when I was 14, and she was very close to us. And she was like a big sister to me. And then my mother got cancer, and then my mother got cancer again, and then my dad got cancer. And my mom was going to die, but she lived, which I can tell you is harder than thinking somebody's going to die and dying. Mm-hmm. She was about to die, and then she didn't. And then you've imagined your whole life without somebody. You got ready for a funeral, and they stay. And then you have to, like, edit them in again. And that was incredibly hard, and, like, lots of wild days of life or death. I think if you...
I got goosebumps on my skin. So
I think if you see enough life or death, you start to understand the actualness of life. So I don't shy away from death. That's why I start with the end. And then my dad got sick, and that was a real bad round of cancer.
Mm-hmm. And was your sister okay?
My sister was okay, yes. She was a crazy fighter, and she still is.
Amazing.
Yeah, so she's doing very well. She got cleared of cancer after like 5 or 7 years, something like that. But it lives on even when they're okay. Like it lives on for another few years. Yeah, and the hospitals and the worries and the what ifs and stuff like that. And so my dad got sick, and that was really bad. But he'd been drinking for 15 years, so everybody expected it, but it was still very ugly. And he was in a coma for 8 weeks. And like,
wow.
Like going to see somebody mm-hmm. that looks nothing like your dad, because he was like, yeah, I'll save you the practical details, but it's on full life support with beepers and things everywhere. And he wasn't going to make the first night or the first 2 nights, but he made it. And then it was like 8 weeks like that. And every time you go to the hospital, you're terrified of what you're going to find.
Wow.
And every time you say bye for the last time. And that's it. Every 8 weeks long, you do not have any energy left when that happens in your life. And that's another useful thing to learn, because I learned that if you want to be happy, there is a threshold of an amount of energy you must have in order to be able to feel happiness. Mm-hmm. If you don't have enough energy, everything can be great, but you won't feel happy because mm-hmm. you need a certain amount of energy. And so, yeah, and all of the shit turns into something good because I'm determined. and so all of this, like, it's all training at the end of the day. Training
your mind and your thoughts, and
yeah. And so I had a terrible time while my dad was sick, and afterwards I had like a life burnout, and I couldn't function, and I couldn't walk very far, and I couldn't think straight, and I actually would not look people in the eye. I couldn't look people in the eye, and I couldn't walk straight, and I couldn't function in society really for more than like 5 minutes walk to the shop, doing my shopping, and then walking home, and then I'd need 2 hours to recover. Like, that's how much your life force gets drained when things are bad. And it's terrible, but you also learn. I've learned a lot from it. So
what have you learned? I'm speechless. I'm like, I wish I had something smart to say, but like I'm completely, I had no idea that it was so bad. And I'm like, I don't want to say that I'm sorry for you, because I see that you came out from, and we're going to talk about the good things that you want to do, and hospitals and music and performance coach and all the good stuff that you took from this trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything clever to say about it, about these things. I am a person who needs to learn. I need to experience things and learn from it. That's what I've done. I am crazy determined in certain ways. And life is built for joy. And I do think joy and hardship all come together. But I thankfully got given certain traits that make all the shit end up being useful. But that's because I choose it. right? It becomes something useful because I say I'm unwilling to have this shit happen and it not turn into anything good. Like, that's just simply not okay for me.
Yeah, you could have chosen, like, I can be a victim, or I always say this, you can be a victim and ruin your life, or you can be a hero.
Yeah. I can go and sit down now, feel sorry for myself, and then the rest of my life will be like that. Or I can just find a way every day.
You know what? I have like I will send to you. I have like a beautiful research. I don't remember the names of the guy. It's like just something very not Russian, but like a very weird name. So they had like this research done on people that they had. I don't know how they call it, the trauma, PTSD. So they wrote a research about it. I will give you an example. So somebody somebody dies in the war, and then they just decide to make an NGO for making peace. Or so people that actually they've lived like a trauma, and then they decided to do something good out of it.
Yeah.
So I think this is perfectly your case. You know, like living such a horrible childhood, and then coming out of it like stronger, and trying to like doing something good with all the pain that you've been through.
Yeah, I think I've always had that. When I was 14, I did a camp in Scotland, and I remember going and doing survival, which was on an uninhabited island. You had to survive for 24 hours or 48 hours. You didn't bring food. You had to like eat limpets off the rocks and seaweed and find
14.
and you had to like find your own like.
Who sent you there?
My parents sent me there. I really wanted to go. And so I remember I was sitting on the rocks. We were getting picked up we could see the boat. And I remember sitting there and I thought, so this is what it feels like. I had no words for it, but I remember thinking, whatever I've just learned and felt, that's what I want to give to people as my job in my work, in my life. That's what I want. And then when I did my master's degree in performance psychology, my thesis was about what makes people go and do crazy things, like challenges where they can die if they want to. And the whole base of the theory was personal agency. And personal agency is a concept that's created by a guy called Bandura. And personal agency is that you feel that you have the power and the strength and you believe in that you are the personal agent of your life.
Okay.
Up to a certain extent.
Of course.
Because I cannot control the weather. And so certain things I cannot control. But there's a lot of stuff. So to have personal agency is to feel like your input has an outcome. And I loved that. I learned that the opposite of personal agency is learned helplessness, which is kind of like victim mode.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then again, I thought, this is what I wish to put into the world. I want to remind people that they can have personal agency. You got to fight hard for it. Or you can have learned helplessness. But life is actually, you're always going to have shit. That's it. Life is always going to be hard, but it's going to be hard and terrible if you just follow the helplessness route.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard and potentially full of purpose and passion if you follow the personal agency route. So
I had like last week a girl from Mexico, Mexican businesswoman, and her she's talking a lot about personal responsibility.
That's it.
And like personal responsibility is like being happy is your personal responsibility, and talks about like personal responsibility and happiness. And she's just doing an amazing job, and she's great, and she's like also like super inspiring. And she talks about like how our actions, like what we do, like this is what creates happiness. Like if you're not doing anything about it, like then okay, let's be a victim, and oh my God, like let's try to be in our shell there and suffer. Yeah.
And good luck.
So
because I won't be hanging out there with you.
Exactly.
Like I think I have an endless amount of energy to help people see the other side, and it's a mindset. It's a training thing.
Definitely.
You have to train it. It's something you have to do every day. And I have an endless amount to help people. But if people keep choosing to fall off the other side, then I'm like, all right, good, great.
Your choice.
Good on you.
Exactly, yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, so let's talk aside for a second. So you became like a performance coach, focused on musicians, right?
Yeah.
And athletes also, or you just like focus on the musicians now?
Yeah, so a performance coach is like the thing I've done my whole life. I got trained by my dad from the age of 4, at least, like if not younger, on performance, on public speaking, on performing, on how to walk, on the energy, on how to focus in your body. Like we got all the coaching. Not on, it's just how he was, so we just got given that. And I decided I wanted to help people feel this thing inside of them. Which
I wanted to ask you what inspired you, like what gave you the drive?
Like, so when I was 14, that's when I thought like, okay, this feeling I have in myself of like capability and oh my, this is me and this, I can do these things. And that then later became personal agency, got a name. And then like that just kind of kept going. And so I studied a bunch of things. And every time I studied, I saw they missed a whole spot. So I did experiential learning and like outdoors leadership, which is all very physical and practical.
Yeah.
And then I did performance psychology or sport and exercise psychology. So I got the mind side, and then I became a personal trainer, and then I became an empowerment coach. And like I kept like trying to fill the whole piece together. And then I became a strength and conditioning trainer. And so to me, happiness and well-being has so many different facets, and you must have a little bit of knowledge on all the subjects, because if you leave a hole, you know, you're like great with your nutrition, you're great with your training, but your mind sucks. It's just not going to work.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned mindset before. So how important is like the mindset and working with the mindset in the life of the musicians? And how do you train that?
I think mindset over technique, mindset over everything else, in my opinion. Because if you have the mindset, everything else is trainable.
Really?
Mindset is also trainable.
Definitely.
So a six-pack, great, but the six-pack comes with the mindset. Olympic athletes, it comes with the mindset. Yeah, you got to be physically capable and have things in place and be able to train like that. But
no, I just wanted to say that I have the mindset, but I still don't have the six packs. So I want to work with you.
Yeah, well, that's the choice is like, is that what's most important?
I'm joking.
Yeah. But I'm very focused.
I know. Sorry, go ahead. I was just cutting your...
So I was a performance coach for all of my life, I feel, even as a kid. I have a little sister, and I would teach her how to do things. So I was like, well, this is how you throw the ball. Well, this is how you throw the ball harder.
Wow, I wouldn't want to be your sister, huh?
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
How many balls did she get in her head?
No, never. Like, I'm actually I am
peaceful.
I'm very peaceful and kind, and have an endless amount of patience. But if somebody is like feeling sorry for themselves and won't change their mindset, then at some point I'm like, okay,
You're gonna throw the ball.
No, I just tell them, okay, fine, go off and do your thing, but I'm not involved any further. Like sometimes sometimes it's just you just gotta know when to jump off.
When to stop. I always say, like, I'm not Mother Teresa. I cannot help everyone.
No,
but
but you can keep crying, but it comes at my cost. The second it goes at my cost, then I have to reevaluate.
So when do you stop? When do you give up? Like, do you take it personal, or is it you? Is it them?
I think you give up. I think you can decide that enough is enough.
When do you know if it's enough?
That's a decision you can only make for yourself. The way I work is that if I really want something, or I really want something to happen, or for somebody else, there is a lot of things I can do. I call it like I will do a bunch of things. I will throw up a bunch of balls in the air. And if none of them get caught, then I'm just going to leave it. And if they stick, 3 out of 10 things I've tried, 7 of them stick. I'm like, all right, this is something worth going for. Okay. But if all of them drop, then I don't think it's worth going for. And enough is like, okay, I did 10 things and none of them worked. Then it's probably better to put my energy into something else. There's probably some option that I haven't found that's better to go into. So enough is enough for me is also when I think, okay, I have tried everything I could come up with, and it didn't work. And then I go, okay, fine.
So you know what? I wanted to ask you anyway, like common mistakes or common barriers or common I don't know, like the problems that like musicians get like during the coaching or during their life as a musician?
Musicians get trained to work incredibly hard, and musicians get taught how to play an instrument, but they do not get taught how to play their body, and they do not get taught how to be effective and efficient as a performer, and they don't get taught how to perform. So they get taught how to play an instrument, but they miss 4 spots. They miss themselves, they miss how to prepare themselves properly for performing, and they miss how to perform properly. And so that's what I keep finding, and they're like technically incredible. That's what they get judged on.
Not the technical part, is it?
No, I will never work with a musician on technique. They have all their teachers for that. But they come to me so that they can learn how to give goosebump performances that just literally change the air. That people are just... and that tell a story. Because you can play an instrument or you can sing and you can do something in the air. Like everybody is just like...
Whoa, what was that?
Yeah. And that's a skill. It's simply a skill. But you have to learn what that takes. And that can be a lot of things. So the way I work with musicians is exactly the same way as I used to work with Olympic athletes. Because they both need to perform. They both need their bodies to function. They both need a whole heap of energy. And they have to put it all out there in a short amount of time.
Exactly, it's like the performance time. Like you only have like those minutes.
That's it.
The showtime.
That's it. And so the preparation for both, whether it's athletes or musicians, is the same. But in the athletes world, there's sports science. People have researched things endlessly. Everybody's like well into the whole, like, you got to hydrate, you got to do this, everybody likes starting to know what to do there. But all that knowledge has not yet touched anything in the music world. So there's like this whole hole that needs to get filled. And I am bringing everything that I have learned from like how to make them sleep better, how to put daily routines in that makes their body function better, what nutrition they should have, which like supplements they should think about, how to take care of their relationships in their life to ensure they put joy into their days, how to program things like, and then we haven't even done anything about their sports. Like, so to me, it doesn't matter if somebody's an athlete or a musician. I just let them tell me what they're doing, and I always find at least 3 to 5 areas where we can improve things. And if you can improve 5 areas by 2%, you still gained a lot. And so it's all about like minor changes, in my opinion.
Yeah, it reminds me of Atomic Habits. They're 1% every day.
That's it.
There's like every day, like if you're 1% every day better, like, 365 days per year, that's 64 or whatever. So imagine, like it's compound. Like imagine how bigger it gets, like bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
But listen, I want to tell you something else, because when you were like talking, I'm like, I have so many questions. I don't want to like stop you, but I have
go.
Okay, I was, I'm obsessed with sports. I'm obsessed with tennis, and I love, like watching sports. So. Anyway, what I wanted to say, like lately, I see a lot of, I'm also following on Instagram, like all the athletes and all this stuff. But what I wanted to tell you is that when they finish a game, I'm talking about the tennis games, right? So when they finish a game, a lot of, if you pay attention, at the moment when they win and they win the championship, and so there are a lot of pictures with the player looking at the the booth with the coach and whatever, like with the team, and then they're like just showing like it's all in my mind. It's like from Djokovic to, I don't know, Simona Halep, which is like a Romanian player. And there's another one now, Ukrainian, that she has done like an amazing tournament in Indian Wells and now in Stuttgart, whatever. Like she made it to the final. And they're all like, it's all in my mind. It's all in like, they're just, it's just like, it's the mindset. And this is, Sinner also, he started to play like with the Australian coach, with Darren. Anyway, so the idea is like taking, you're smiling, taking a player and taking like to give me like a athlete, right? From being like average to excellent, it's a lot like it's all in the mindset except for the supplements. Do you agree? I made it long, but the idea is like is the way to excellence like only does it say in like in mindset?
The way to excellence is you got to have good support around you. That includes a coach, and that includes somebody who keeps an eye on things that you're not aware of. Because you're supposed to be the one who is either playing the instrument or playing the sport. So you got to keep your head in the goal and in the tunnel. And then somebody else can keep an eye on other things. And that person should work. One of these people should remind you of the mindset. And the mindset, in my opinion, is the most important, because the mindset can make you go and do all the other things. And the mindset should be extended, in my opinion, to how you see yourself and like the deep inside stuff of like mindset is like how you set your mind forward. But how you look at yourself is like inside the circle and what you think of that. If that needs to be cleared up, so that then the mindset is the thing that is the vehicle that can drive you to places.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think all of them, they sleep well and they train every day, right? They train like with a coach.
So what's the difference?
Exactly. What's the difference at the end? They train with a coach. They all have coaches. They train, like they take the supplements. They do they have their schedule. So then like what's the secret at the end of the day? Like how do you actually get there? And like those long games, it's all about like keeping your nerves, keeping the stress down, and it's super important. But I want to ask you something else.
Go.
A correlation between happiness and performance. Or even say like high performance actually.
There's a lot of people who perform incredibly highly and are incredibly unhappy.
Explain.
Depending on what high performance is or which angle you look at, high performance does not mean happiness. So I was an Olympic weightlifter, and I was a Dutch national champion. And to do that, your life is not in balance, because one thing has to be the most important thing over everything else. That's to train and to turn your whole life around in such a way that everything is lining up to the big goal, which is a physical thing. That means I'm not necessarily always there as a friend. That means I'm not necessarily there as a family member. If I have to pick, this is my goal. I have done everything in my weeks for months and years to achieve this. And that means I'm going to have to continue down that path for anybody who is focusing on creating a high performance in any street. And so high performance, in my opinion, always comes with the form of disbalance and where there is holes in a life.
So how do you get to that balance?
I don't think you can be optimally high performer and be super healthy at the same time. On an athlete level and on a music level, you can only achieve that if high performance means also a holistic view of high performance. So if I want to be the best musician that there is, you must know and understand that means taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, having time on your own, having social time, having somebody to bounce things against or to have a venting place. And all of those things are very hard to do and to stick in a life.
Easy to be said and done, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you wish for a life of like extreme high performance, you're like a little military trained, precise person. And then it's quite hard to be in a relationship. It's near possible to have kids unless you have a lot of help. And so I have learned to perform at 95% and higher. And I have learned how to get people who are performing that high to be even better at performing, no matter the angle. I've also learned that if you wish for a happy and healthy, balanced life, it's not at 95% and higher. It's like 60 to 80%. That's good. That's good enough. But so you have to choose, like, what's more important? Like my balance and balance of things, or am I gonna? Because balance is all things are scoring around a 6 to 7. I've got 10 scales here, and they're all scoring around like 6, 7, 8. That's balance.
Okay.
But high performance, in my opinion, is 2, 2, 2, 2, 10, 10, 10, 10, 2, 2, 2, 5, 5.
Like up and down. I get it.
Yeah.
And about the correlation about happiness and music also.
I think music is one of the most beautiful, straightest directions into places inside of ourselves that we don't visit very often. And I think music impacts how your heart beats. Mm-hmm. Music impacts your heart rate variability. Music impacts how you breathe. How you breathe impacts your nervous system. How you breathe and your nervous system impact your immune system. And therefore, you've got your well-being.
Everything is correlated.
Yeah. And then you can learn how to make it extra good for you in music. And so to me, the reason why I work with musicians over athletes is because music and musicians have a goal of bringing something into the world that's for others. Mm-hmm. Athletes have a goal to achieve something, mm-hmm. to prove something. And that's very different. And so for me, musicians have spent a lifetime having a purpose for others.
I get it.
And I think that to me is incredibly exciting. And so the happiness that can come through music is a different kind of happiness that can come through talking, through hugs. Like music goes where other things don't go. Mm-hmm. And music makes space for things to come out that nothing else can do as efficient as music. And that's the reason why I think music should be in hospitals.
You can read my mind. You can literally,
nice segue.
Right? So I know that you're one of your dreams is to bring music to the hospitals, right?
Yes. My big dream is to get music in hospitals globally because we just need it there. So my father was sick and cancer and on intensive care. And I can still cry now thinking, if there had been a piano in the lobby, and every time I walked to the hospital and I walked through the front doors, I could sit and breathe. And when you're in survival mode or you're fighting very hard, it's so hard to create a moment to breathe and stop and be. And you need other people to do that. And so we need, as a human race, to give everybody that goes to a hospital a moment to breathe and remember they're human. And it's so easily done. We just need people to play live, beautiful music in a lobby. And we need other aspects also. But if I had had somebody there, if I had had somebody playing the piano, I would have remembered my center and I would have had a moment to breathe. And after I would have said goodbye to my dad, not knowing if that was the last time, I would have walked out of the hospital and I could have let some of everything that's building up inside of me out. And that would have made me a lot healthier. And to get these hard things out of you is important. And what I've learned is that to get things that are stuck inside of you out, it can be done through words, but it's not necessary. It can be done through dancing, it can be done through sweating, it can be done through crying, through laughing, sitting and breathing. And so many people find it hard to speak about the things because you have to have made sense out of them, and sometimes we haven't made sense out of them. So to just sit and breathe and listen to somebody playing beautifully.
Beautiful.
Or a cellist. God, if that would have happened, I would have just hung out at the hospital. And it would have made everything better. And so to have music in hospitals changes the atmosphere and the energy, I think. And it changes, and it helps every human, from staff to patients to visitors, to just remember we're human and that you're in yourself, and to have help make a moment to breathe and feel and be.
Beautiful.
And then you keep going.
So I spend myself some time in hospitals, so I know how it's to be long time. But my question is, how are we gonna make it happen?
So
what's the plan?
So I'm working on establishing a foundation, Music in Hospitals Globally. And I have 4 main goals. One is pianos in lobbies, because it's a very simple start. The second one is intimate private concerts in resident patient areas or rooms. So a chemo room, for example, where people have to come every day, week, month to get their chemo. They sit there for 3 hours with the drip next to them. It's very important that this chemo does what it needs to do because it's still a life or death situation. And to have somebody come in there, have a curated performance, they need to be coached and well prepared. I would like to do that. And so we have intimate concerts and live music and a moment to breathe because these people can't make it to the lobby sometimes. Number 3 is music rooms, so that people who are resident in the hospital can go to the music room and can play instrument.
We can listen.
Yeah, or listen. And the 4th thing is that they should be able to get music lessons in the hospital. Because if you're resident in the hospital, what you will know is that you've got a lot of time to cover and there's not always people around you, nor do you always wish to speak, nor do you have enough energy sometimes to do anything. But you can listen to music, and sometimes you can actually learn to make music. And by having a new obsession, by having something to fall in love with, by having a direction to research, YouTube, to go crazy, you've got so much time. It gives people a new lease on life, I think, to fall in love with something and its an instrument, and to start making songs if they want, or to learn to sing, or it's a means for them to get things out. And I think a lot of sicknesses are the result of stuff that's stuck inside of us.
I agree.
That didn't come out. And it doesn't have to come out through words. But if we can come out through breathing or for singing or for playing an instrument, then hooray. So my big goal is to get music into hospitals in 4 ways. And the way to start is to have it in 4 different countries. So it will be Portugal, I think the UK and the Netherlands, hopefully America too. And what I hope it becomes is like a movement where people are like, music in hospitals, great idea. Right, what can I do in my place? I'm a nurse. I can get signed off that we can have a concert here once a week. And that I want to have like a big map of the world where there is little lights or pins that light up because somebody has decided, this is important. I'm going to go do this here. And so I want the foundation to be an inspiration for people, and I want it to be able to like help all over the world to have like little starting points, and that we can help it make it better.
And we make the world a better place.
Yeah. And by doing this, we're helping the patients, we're helping the family, we're helping the staff in the hospital. They have to remember they're human because their hours are unhuman. And we're also helping the music world, because this also means that musicians now have a new option for a full-time career. Instead of being in an orchestra or a solo artist or just teaching or a combination of those 3, there should be a 4th option where musicians can feel like, I want to do music because I want to transform the air. I want to do meaningful performances. And I want to give of myself to others so that they can feel better. There's a lot of musicians like that, but they have no place to go. Now imagine if you're like that and you're a little kid and you realize, I could grow up to be a professional musician and I can play in hospitals.
Beautiful.
And it can be your full-time job. Like, that needs to exist from a music angle. That needs to exist. And there's going to be amazing musicians doing that. And they will change people's lives because they can play an instrument. And that's what people have become musicians for. They can remember, it's not about notes and perfect technique. It's about making a difference for a human that's in your audience.
I'm loving it. I had a million other questions that I wanted to ask you. I didn't have the chance, but like the time just like flew by. So thank you so much for coming and for bringing so much energy and light and hope. And I wish you good luck with your project. I'm here to support, and let's hope that we're gonna find like more people that to help the cause.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.